Hey, Pickles the drummer, what day is it today?
It's Friday! It's Friday!
You're damn right it is. It's Friday! Hello, welcome back to the Rot Gut Review. My name is Ed, and it is once again my favorite day of the week, Friday. This is the day of the week I devote to my favorite kind of whiskey, rye whiskey. But today is a little weird, because we're drinking something that isn't exactly rye, but it kind of is. It's actually blended Scotch. This is Johnnie Walker High Rye. So I actually already took the neck pour off this bottle to do a little first impressions preview for the patrons over on Patreon. So if you would like access to those pre-review first impressions, go on the Patreon, pledge $1 a month, and get to see those videos. Or don't, whatever you like. Even before I did those videos, I would pretty much always take the neck pour off a bottle before reviewing it, just because I'm a big believer that that first pour off the top tends to be a little bit different from the rest of the bottle. And I want to give you guys the best possible review. So the thing about this bad boy is that it's not a rye by the American definition. What it actually is a blended Scotch, a blend of Scotch grain whiskey and malt whiskey. If those terms are confusing to you, why don't you go check out my Beginner's Guide to Scotch Whiskey somewhere up here. I never know which side it's on. Usually in a blended Scotch, the malt whiskey is the star of the show. In this case, it's a little bit flipped because the interesting part of this blend is that grain whiskey. It's 60% rye. Usually when we're talking about grain whiskey, it's made out of wheat or corn, and it's kind of just used as a filler in these blends. It's just kind of there to smooth things out, make it nice and easy drinking, but it's not really the star of the show. But in this case, they're trying to highlight that rye flavor from the grain. Now historically, rye has been used in distillation in the British Isles going back centuries. I mean, they say 1784. It was probably even earlier than that. However, in the modern era, the Scottish and the Irish really haven't been distilling with rye. But that is changing now that rye is coming back. It's coming back stronger than ever. Mostly because of hipsters like me. The reason that this isn't a rye by the American definition is that they took that 60% rye grain whiskey and then blended it with a bunch of malt whiskeys. And what I like is that they put the distilleries that it's from right on the side of the bottle. That's really nice. The grain portion comes from Cameron Bridge, and the malt whiskeys come from Cardew, Clynelish, Teenanick, Glenkinchie, and Kalila. Alright. Okay, so on the nose, I gotta say, you can smell the rye. You can smell the rye spice. There's certainly a slight mintiness, a little bit of clove. There's actually a little bit of peach. My problem is that this rye spice is getting covered up a little bit by the caramels and the butterscotchiness. It's really faint. Alright, I'm starting to get a little black licorice. That's a pretty common rye note. Okay, and there's even a little bit of dill and a little bit of black pepper. So pretty standard rye notes, but they're really not popping. They're really just kind of subdued, which makes sense. They blended that grain whiskey with some relatively strong flavored malts. So I'm actually just kind of happy that any rye spice got through. All right, let's get a taste. Yeah, I don't know about this. It's not bad. I'm just wondering, where's the rye? Because at first blush, this is all just vanilla and caramel and pear and apple. There's a touch of earthiness, which I could only really think came from the Kalila, because it's a peated malt. But there really isn't any rye character. This tastes like any other Johnnie Walker. I guess there's a little bit of clove and maybe a touch of pepper, but I really don't think there's a lot of rye here. Basically what I'm getting is blended Scotch. It just tastes like vanillas, caramels, fruits, a little bit of earthiness, and yeah. It's also pretty ethanol forward for 45% alcohol. This drink's hotter than I would expect for 45%. And if I have one criticism aside from the lack of rye, it does have that kind of funny metallic-y taste that you get with some underaged blended scotches. The finish is very, very long though. I'll say that. For a blended scotch, this thing lasts forever. And the longer it lasts, the more earthy I feel like it feels to me. That earthiness is really hanging out. Kind of wish the rye spice was showing up, but meh, what are you gonna do? At the end of the day, I guess this is just a high rye blended scotch. It's not a rye whiskey. I mean, I guess it's trying to capitalize on how rye is now coming back, but it's really not a rye whiskey. There's certainly rye elements there, but at the end of the day, it's kind of just a decent blended scotch with a little bit of rye taste. If you want to try and get into rye and you're coming from scotch, this would be a very good way to go. And also, I'm just happy that Scotland and Ireland are now making rye. We've got this, we've got Kilbeggan's rye, which is really more of a pot still whiskey, but whatever. I'm just excited people are distilling with rye. Awesome. Keep it up. Fantastic. So while I didn't quite like this one, I'm hopeful. Hope springs eternal that we're going to see some excellent ryes coming out of the British Isles very, very soon. So until next time, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that, and stay safe, stay healthy, and stay rotten. Cheers.